We are speaking now with aviation lawyer and former Army helicopter pilot Brian Alexander. Good evening from Manila, Mr. Alexander.
Good evening, Korina. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being with us today. I know it's very early where you are. So you are representing the families of the victims of the U.S. air tragedy. Is that correct?
We expect to be representing a number of the families of the victims. Yes, that is correct. And I'd like to say at the outset, we extend our deepest condolences to Colonel Malved and his family. It's a deep tragedy, which you know has affected people in the Philippines. So our deepest sympathies.
So legally speaking, what are the plans right now for the families, and what exactly are they entitled to?
So this is a very complex area of law here in the United States because it involves our government. So there's a specific statute, a law that sets forth the ways in which claims against the government can be brought, to the extent that the United States Army, because of the Black Hawk helicopter, and also the air traffic controllers who are with the FAA, are both government entities. The Federal Tort Claims Act here in the United States will govern the claims and make available to the families appropriate compensation. Your second question is, what are they entitled to? Specifically, they're entitled to answers. One of the positive things of the United States legal system is that it provides a way to do discovery and get answers about what happened, why it happened, and who is responsible. And then most importantly, it awards fair and reasonable compensation to the family members that survive, both economic support and non-economic support, to compensate for the loss of their loved one.
Okay, so we are aware that you are trying to get in touch with the family of one of our own, Filipino Police Colonel Pergentino Malabed, who was one of the passengers of that plane. So this is for the same purpose, I suppose.
Yeah, as I said, the families from around the world typically will contact us in these circumstances, and our firm stands ready and able to help all the families, including the Malabed family, should they decide to reach out to us. We would be honored to be able to assist them in any way that we possibly can. There's also in the United States, our government, through the National Transportation Safety Board, will be conducting an investigation on behalf of the flying public, as well as, very importantly, the families, again, to get answers for them, which they are certainly entitled to find out exactly what happened and why it happened.
So aside from the investigations being conducted, there are parallel investigations also happening at the same time from the private sector.
Yes, there will be. At the appropriate time, attorneys typically in the United States who represent the families, as well as those that may represent the United States or even the air carrier American Eagle or PSA, in this case, will conduct their own independent investigations, and they will participate in a discovery process in association with the legal proceedings that will take place in the United States. And again, those legal proceedings will be in part in accordance with the Federal Tort Claims Act, which is something that is unique about this case and the complexities of the legal system in the United States. So it's important for families to have good legal counsel to represent them in this regard.
So, okay, Mr. Alexander, I'm not so sure if we're late in receiving any newest information, but do you know of the latest on the investigation on the mid-air collision? I'm hearing pilot error. Has this ever come out in the media?
Well, as you might expect, there is a lot of conversations to this point with various experts giving opinions about what may have caused the accident. There has been several briefings by the NTSB, by local law enforcement. At this point, other government representatives have made statements about the status of the investigation. Officially, the NTSB has begun the investigation. They have recovered the black boxes for both the helicopter and the American Eagle jet. That will have information about the communications between the aircraft and the air traffic controller, as well as the data about airspeed and location. So that will be very important to be analyzed. I can tell you that at this point, there is evidence that has been made public, which, if it is confirmed, seems to suggest a couple things. First, that the Black Hawk helicopter may have been higher at a greater elevation than it was allowed to be along that helicopter route, which would obviously be negligence on behalf of the pilot of the helicopter. And then in addition, there is some focus on whether or not the helicopter pilot crew actually saw the aircraft, the jet that was landing on runway 33, which was being identified to it by the air traffic controller. But there seems to be an issue about whether or not the helicopter crew was able to see and did in fact see the correct aircraft that was being identified for it.
Would there be any reason why they wouldn't be able to see what was right in front of them?
Well, that's a great question. So it's difficult to understand this, but this is an absolutely unique piece of airspace. It's highly congested because of all the airplane traffic, the jet traffic going into National Airport, but also you have these helicopters moving up and down the river at low level. That's very, very unique and unusual. And because of that, you have a situation where a slight change or something that's unexpected could create a problem. Here, I think you have a series of things that come into play. First, it's a night flight. Second, you have all the traffic moving to the north to land, all the jet traffic. But this one aircraft is asked to circle around to another runway, which moves the aircraft out over the river, closer to where the helicopter was proceeding. And then I think in the helicopter, what's happening is they are apparently on a training mission, night training, perhaps using night vision goggles. And I believe they may have misunderstood the aircraft that was being identified to them as for one on the other approach path. And when that confusion occurred, they never acquired the correct aircraft until, quite unfortunately, it was too late.
That's very helpful insight. So how do you, or when do you expect the actual results of the investigation will come out?
So right now, the National Transportation Safety Board has indicated they will give a more detailed preliminary update to the families and to the public within 30 days. I think because of the high-profile nature of this accident and because of the information that is known and can be confirmed, I think that will be very informative for the families. Thereafter, though, typically it takes about a year, sometimes longer, before the final report with probable cause and contributing factors is concluded by the NTSB.
Okay, so thank you so much for your time, aviation lawyer and former Army helicopter pilot, Brian Alexander. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and God bless the families.